If you walk into court as a normal person, the system already expects you to lose. Not because you are wrong, not because you are lying, not because you are evil, but because you are unprepared for the kind of war court really is. Most people believe courts are about truth. They believe evidence decides everything. They believe honesty is powerful. They believe the judge is neutral. They believe the law is fair. That belief destroys lives. Court is not built for normal people. It is built for professionals, for institutions, for corporations, for governments, for people who live inside legal systems every day. A normal person enters court once or twice in their entire life. A corporation enters court every week. Experience is power. Ignorance is weakness. And court punishes weakness. A normal person prepares emotionally. A lawyer prepares strategically. You bring truth. They bring structure. You bring memories. They bring documents. You bring feelings. They bring procedures. And procedures always defeat emotions. The system does not ask, who is right? It asks, who followed the process correctly? Process beats justice. This is the first reason normal people lose. They fight with reality. The system fights with rules. Rules do not care about suffering. Rules do not care about fairness. Rules care about timing, paperwork, deadlines, language, formatting, jurisdiction. Miss one step, and truth becomes irrelevant. A normal person misses steps. A company never does, because companies do not feel fear. They do not panic. They do not forget. They do not get tired. They do not cry in bathrooms before hearings. They send lawyers. Lawyers do not defend truth. They defend advantage. The normal person stands alone. Across the room sits a system. 3 lawyers, a legal assistant, a corporate representative, boxes of files, prepared arguments, case law, pre-written responses, and you, with your story. Stories do not win cases. Systems do. This is why 9 out of 10 normal people lose. Not because they are wrong, but because they are fighting a machine with their hands. The courtroom pretends to be neutral, but neutrality is a costume. Behind it is structure, and structure favors those who understand it. A normal person learns a law during the case. The other side learned it for decades. That difference is fatal. When a normal person speaks, they explain life. When a lawyer speaks, they translate life into legal weapons. Judges do not rule on emotions. They rule on frameworks. If your pain is not inside the framework, it does not exist. Most normal people discover this too late. They say, but this is unfair. The system replies, you filed it wrong. They say, but this is true. The system replies, you missed a deadline. They say, but they lied. The system replies, you failed to object properly. Truth dies in paperwork. This is the second reason normal people lose. They speak human. Court speaks legal. And legal language is a different universe. In court, timing is more important than truth. Procedure is more important than damage. Format is more important than fairness. If your document is 1 day late, your suffering is erased. If your evidence is formatted incorrectly, your reality disappears. Corporations know this. Lawyers know this. Normal people do not. So the system filters them out. Not violently. Quietly. With rules. With deadlines. With technicalities. And technicalities are invisible prisons. You do not feel them closing until it is too late. By the time the normal person understands a game, they are already losing. The judge looks neutral, but the battlefield is tilted, not by corruption, by design. Court was never designed for fairness. It was designed for order. Order is predictable. Justice is not. Systems choose predictability, and predictability favors professionals, not citizens. Money does not buy justice. It buys time, and time decides who survives court. A normal person runs out of strength. A corporation runs out of patience. The difference is everything. Court is not one battle. It is a war of months, sometimes years, sometimes decades. Normal people budget for rent, for food, for school fees, for hospital bills. Companies budget for lawsuits. They expect them. They plan for them. They store money for them. Legal cost is not a problem. It is an operating expense. For a normal person, legal cost is a disaster. The first lawyer meeting already hurts. The second one scares. The third one empties savings. By the fourth month, fear replaces confidence. By the sixth month, survival replaces justice. Normal people do not lose in court. They surrender before court finishes, not because they are wrong, but because they are exhausted. Companies know this. They do not rush. They slow everything down. They file motions. They request extensions. They challenge documents. They reschedule hearings. They appeal small decisions. Every delay costs them money, but every delay costs you life. You lose working days. You lose focus. You lose sleep. You lose stability. You lose health. They lose nothing. Time becomes their weapon. They stretch the case until your savings collapse, until your family is tired, until your job is angry, until your confidence breaks. Then they offer settlement. A number, small, insulting, quiet, and suddenly it looks like freedom, not justice. Freedom from pressure. Normal people accept, not because it is fair, but because it is survivable. This is how most cases end. Not with truth, with exhaustion. Corporations never get tired. People do. Court rewards those who can wait. A rich company can fight 10 years. A normal person cannot fight 10 months. This is the third reason normal people lose. Legal stamina. It is invisible, but fatal. The judge does not see your rent bill. The system does not care about your stress. The process does not pause for your anxiety. Deadlines continue. Hearings continue. Costs continue. Life does not stop because you want justice. And companies know this. They design their defense to be heavy, complex, slow, expensive, not to prove innocence, but to outlast you. This is not corruption. It is strategy. When justice becomes too expensive, only the rich can afford it. Normal people do not lose because they are wrong. They lose because they are human. Humans get tired. Corporations do not. A normal person walks into court with truth. The other side walks in with lawyers. That difference alone decides most cases. Law is not common sense. It is a language, a technical language, built to be precise, cold, unforgiving. Normal people speak human. Lawyers speak law. And court only understands one of them. When a normal person represents themselves, they believe, if I explain clearly, the judge will understand. The judge understands. The system does not care. Court does not reward honesty. It rewards correct structure. A lawyer does not just argue. They frame reality. They decide what matters, what is not, what is allowed, what is ignored. They control the battlefield. A normal person reacts. A lawyer plans. You answer questions. They design questions. You defend yourself. They attack your position. You explain what happened. They explain why your explanation does not legally exist. Because if something is not introduced correctly, it does not exist in court. If evidence is not submitted properly, it disappears. If an objection is not raised at the right second, the damage becomes permanent. Normal people do not know this. They speak at the wrong time. They stay silent at the wrong time. They object incorrectly. They submit documents incorrectly. They miss procedural traps. The judge cannot help. Neutrality forbids it. So the judge watches, and mistakes accumulate. Each small mistake weakens the case. Not morally, legally. A normal person might be 100% right and still lose, because court does not measure truth. It measures compliance with legal structure. Lawyers are trained to weaponize this. They do not need to prove you wrong. They only need to prove you are legally inefficient. A self-represented person is not fighting the opponent. They are fighting the system itself. And the system never loses. Another truth. Lawyers know judges. Not personally. Professionally. They understand preferences, styles, patterns. They know what arguments work, what language persuades, what framing matters. Normal people discover these things while losing. Lawyers learn them for years. A normal person improvises. A lawyer executes a design. This is why corporations never appear without lawyers. Never. They know court is not a moral arena. It is a technical arena. You do not win with emotion. You win with precision. And precision is expensive. Normal people think, I cannot afford a lawyer. In reality, they cannot afford to be without one. But most still are, so they enter court alone and face professionals. It is like fighting trained soldiers with bare hands. Not illegal, not unfair, just predictable. This is the fourth reason normal people lose. They fight a professional war as amateurs. In court, truth is fragile. Procedure is permanent. A normal person believes, if I am right, I will win. Court believes, if you miss the process, you do not exist. Procedure is the invisible ruler of every case. Deadlines, formats, filing rules, service rules, jurisdiction, evidence codes, motion structures. Each one is a gate. Miss one, and your case bleeds to death quietly. Normal people fight events. Lawyers fight calendars. A document filed one day late can erase years of suffering. Evidence submitted incorrectly becomes illegal. An objection raised 3 seconds late becomes permanent damage. A wrong form, a missing signature, a wrong address, a missed notice. Each mistake deletes reality. Normal people do not lose because they lie. They lose because they are technical amateurs. Corporations do not make these mistakes. They have systems, checklists, teams, calendars, automated reminders. A normal person has stress, fear, job pressure, family pressure. Court does not pause for stress. Procedure does not forgive panic. The judge may understand your pain, but the system does not recognize pain. It recognizes paperwork. This is why courtrooms feel cold, because they are built to process documents, not humans. A corporation can win without proving innocence. It only needs to prove you fail to follow the rules. This is called dismissal. Your truth dies without trial. Your story ends without being heard, because the process was violated. This is the fifth reason normal people lose. They fight for justice. The system fights for order. Order defeats justice. Procedure is predictable. Truth is messy. Systems choose predictability. A normal person explains emotions. A corporation files motions. One speaks. The other deletes. Court is a machine. Machines do not care who is right. They care who followed instructions. The cruelest part? Most normal people never understand why they lost. They leave court confused, angry, broken. They think, the judge was unfair. The system is corrupt. They were biased. Sometimes, but often, the system simply worked as designed. Designed for professionals, not citizens. Normal people believe evidence speaks for itself. Court does not. Evidence is not power. Interpretation is. A normal person brings photos, messages, receipts, witnesses, memories. They believe facts are enough. Court believes something else. Facts are useless without control. Evidence does not enter court automatically. It must be introduced, authenticated, approved, framed, explained, connected to legal standards. If this does not happen correctly, the evidence is invisible. A photo in your phone means nothing. A message on your screen means nothing. A memory in your head means nothing until a lawyer turns it into a legal weapon. Normal people show reality. Lawyers reshape reality. They decide which facts matter, which facts disappear, which facts confuse, which facts persuade. Court is not a search for truth. It is a competition of stories. Two sides tell two versions of reality. The judge chooses the one built better, not the one that happened, the one that fits the law. A corporation tells a clean story, structured, logical, cold, safe. A normal person tells a human story, emotional, messy, incomplete, painful. Court trusts clean stories, not painful ones. Another truth, evidence is filtered by rules. Hearsay rules, relevance rules, chain of custody rules, expert testimony rules. Normal people do not know these. So they say something true, and the judge says, objection sustained. Truth is silenced. A lawyer says something half-true in the correct format, and it becomes reality. This is why evidence does not save people. Control does. A lawyer can make weak evidence look powerful. A normal person can make strong evidence disappear. Because presentation beats reality. Corporations hire experts, engineers, doctors, accountants, analysts. Experts do not describe what happened. They explain what should be believed. Their language is technical, calm, authoritative. Courts love authority. A normal person sounds emotional. Experts sound neutral. Neutrality wins. This is the sixth reason normal people lose. They bring truth. The other side brings a version of truth the system prefers. Court does not ask, what happened? It asks, which story follows the rules better? The better story wins, even if it is incomplete, even if it is cruel, even if it hides reality. Normal people lose not because they lack evidence, but because they lack narrative control. They speak as victims. The system listens to architects. Corporations do not fight to prove they are right. They fight to make you too tired to continue. Their goal is not victory. It is exhaustion. They use 4 weapons: delay, overwhelm, confuse, exhaust. First, delay. They request extensions. They reschedule hearings. They appeal small decisions. They file technical motions. They challenge jurisdiction. They ask for more documents. They ask for more time. Each step is legal. Each step is slow. You wait. They prepare. Months pass. Bills grow. Stress grows. Life shrinks. They lose nothing. You lose stability. Second, overwhelm. They send hundreds of pages, thousands of pages, legal language, technical terms, footnotes, references. You open the documents. You do not understand them. You feel small, lost, behind. They understand everything. You understand nothing. Confusion weakens confidence. Third, confuse. They change arguments, shift blame, create alternative timelines, question your memory, challenge your witnesses, attack small details. They do not need to destroy your story, only to make it unclear. Courts fear uncertainty. If the story is unclear, judges hesitate, juries doubt. Doubt helps corporations. Fourth, exhaust. They schedule hearings during work hours. They demand quick responses. They create urgency for you. They create calm for themselves. You rush. They plan. You make mistakes. They wait. Mistakes become evidence against you. Eventually, you wake up tired. You stop checking emails. You avoid calls. You dread court dates. And one day, you consider giving up. Not because you are wrong, because you are empty. Then they offer settlement. A small amount. A quiet ending. No admission of guilt. And it feels like relief. This is how corporations win most cases. Not in court. Before court finishes, they do not defeat you legally. They defeat you psychologically. This is the 7th reason normal people lose. They fight a system designed to break humans. Corporations are not human. They do not feel fear. They do not feel pain. They do not feel shame. They do not lose sleep. You do. And court rewards those who do not. Court does not only test evidence. It tests the human mind. Normal people are not trained for this environment. The silence, the formal language, the elevated judge, the hostile questions, the unfamiliar rules, the public exposure. All of it creates pressure. Pressure changes behavior. Hands shake. Voices crack. Memory weakens. Confidence disappears. A normal person forgets details, mixes timelines, misspeaks, contradicts themselves. Not because they lie, because fear damages precision. Lawyers know this. Corporations design for this. They speak calmly, slowly, confidently. You speak emotionally, quickly, defensively. Court trusts calm. Court doubts emotion. A trembling voice looks dishonest. A nervous pause looks suspicious. A confused answer looks guilty, even when it is not. Judges are human. Juries are human. Prosecutors are human. They respond to behavior, not just facts. Confidence looks like truth. Fear looks like weakness. Weakness is punished. Another pressure is authority. The judge controls the room. Police officers are present. Security watches. Lawyers move freely. You sit alone. This imbalance affects the mind. You feel small, outnumbered, unqualified. So you become careful. Too careful. You avoid speaking. You avoid objecting. You avoid interrupting. You allow damage because you do not want to appear rude. Corporations want this. Silence is weakness. Another pressure is unpredictability. You do not know what will happen next, what will be asked, what will be shown, what will be challenged. Uncertainty creates anxiety. Anxiety creates mistakes. Mistakes create records. Records destroy cases. Another pressure is public judgment. Courtrooms are not private. People watch. Reporters sometimes watch. Strangers listen. Your personal life becomes public material. Humiliation weakens resistance. A corporation does not feel shame. You do. So you hold back. You protect dignity. They exploit it. This is the 8th reason normal people lose. Court is emotionally violent, but legally silent. It breaks people quietly. And broken people make bad decisions. Bad decisions lose cases. Corporations do not feel pressure. They create it. You experience fear. They measure it, and they use it. Most people believe judges are the problem. They believe corruption decides cases. Sometimes it does. But most of the time, it is something quieter, more dangerous. Design. Judges are not free. They are trapped inside systems. Rules. Caseloads. Time pressure. Precedent. Institutional habits. A judge may want justice, but the system demands efficiency. Thousands of cases. Limited time. Strict procedures. Crowded calendars. Justice is slow. Efficiency is rewarded. So judges learn to prefer clear structure, professional behavior, predictable arguments, legal precision. Corporations offer this. Normal people do not. A corporate lawyer speaks the judge's language. A normal person speaks pain. Judges are trained in law, not in trauma. So they respond to what they understand. Legal logic, not human suffering. Another truth. Judges see the same types of cases again and again. They develop patterns, expectations, shortcuts. A corporation appears organized, so it looks credible. A normal person appears emotional, so it looks unreliable. This bias is rarely conscious. It is automatic. The system trains judges to trust professionals and doubt amateurs, not because of money, because of predictability. Predictable cases are easier to manage. Messy human stories are not. Another pressure is workload. Judges do not have time to investigate deeply. They rely on lawyers to shape the case. And corporations provide better shaping. Normal people bring chaos. Lawyers bring order. Courts choose order. Another hidden truth. Courts fear appeals. Messy cases get challenged. Complex human stories get questioned. Professional, structured cases survive. So judges unconsciously lean toward the side that creates fewer future problems. That side is rarely the normal person. This is the 9th reason normal people lose. Not because judges hate them, but because the system rewards efficiency, not fairness. Courts do not ask, what is right? They ask, what is manageable? Corporations are manageable. People are not. Justice becomes administrative. And administration does not feel guilt. Most cases do not end with a verdict. They end with surrender. Not because the normal person is wrong, but because continuing becomes impossible. This is called settlement. The system calls it efficiency. Corporations call it strategy. Normal people call it survival. After months, after delays, after expenses, after fear, after exhaustion, a normal person reaches a moment. Not in court, at home, at night, alone. They calculate rent, food, school fees, medical bills, loan payments, and in legal fees, justice becomes a luxury. Corporations know this moment exists. They design for it. They wait. They pressure. They confuse. They exhaust. And then they offer money, not justice, not truth, money, enough to stop the pain, not enough to be fair. The offer comes quietly, through lawyers, behind closed doors, with conditions, no admission of guilt, no public record, no warning to others, just silence. The normal person hesitates. They think, I am right. I should fight. They should pay. Then reality speaks. I am tired. I am scared. I am broke. I cannot do this anymore. So they accept, not because the corporation is innocent, but because survival is stronger than justice. This is how most powerful organizations avoid losing. They do not defeat you legally. They purchase your silence. The court never hears the truth. The public never learns the danger. The system records case resolved, and the corporation continues. Another normal person will be harmed. Another case will start. Another settlement will close it. The cycle continues. This is the 10th reason normal people lose. They do not lose in court. They lose before court decides. The system calls it choice. But it is not a choice. It is pressure disguised as freedom. A corporation never accepts settlement out of fear. A normal person always does. Because corporations can afford justice. People cannot. So justice becomes optional. And truth becomes expensive. In the end, the truth is uncomfortable. Normal people do not lose in court because they are wrong. They lose because the system was never built for them. It was built for institutions, for corporations, for governments, for professionals, for those who live inside legal language. The courtroom looks equal, but it is not equal. One side arrives with money, with lawyers, with time, with systems, with experience, with immunity to stress. The other arrives with fear, with bills, with confusion, with a story, with hope. Hope is not evidence. The law does not protect truth. It protects structure. It protects process. It protects those who understand how to live inside it. A normal person enters court believing justice is automatic. A corporation enters knowing justice is optional. That difference decides everything. You fight one case. They fight thousands. You risk your life. They risk a percentage. You feel pressure. They create it. You speak truth. They speak law. And law always defeats truth. Not because it is evil, but because it is designed to reward control. The system does not ask, who suffered more? It asks, who followed the process better? It does not ask, who is right? It asks, who is prepared? And preparation costs money. So the poor prepare with hope. The rich prepare with teams. The poor bring pain. The rich bring documents. The poor bring memory. The rich bring strategy. Only one of these wins. This is why 9 out of 10 normal people lose. Not because they lie. Not because they are weak. Not because they are foolish. But because they are human. Inside a system designed for machines. If there is one lesson, it is not to hate the law. It is to understand it. Because ignorance is not innocence in court. It is vulnerability. The law does not protect those who need protection. It protects those who understand how to use it. And until that changes, justice will remain a language, not a feeling, a process, not a promise, a weapon, not a shield.